welcome back to the Buce Planet channel, where we cover everything aquascaping and we try and entertain and inspire you along the way. My name is Logan with Team Buce Planet, and today we have 5 tips for a healthy fish tank. So today's episode is gonna have a little bit more of an emphasis on fish keeping rather than aquascaping, but all of these tips still apply if you have a planted aquarium with fish, shrimp, and snails. Now, before we dive into our tips, be sure to like this video and subscribe to the channel for lots more educational content like this. Now, without further ado, let's dive into our 5 tips for a healthy fish tank. Tip number 1, observe the inhabitants. While this may seem like a simple tip, one of the most relaxing and enjoyable parts about keeping a fish tank is just sitting back and observing. Now, aside from being enjoyable and therapeutic, this is an opportunity for you to really monitor the health of your fish. Watch how they swim, watch how they interact with each other. Look out for things like bullying, check out the pecking order, see how everyone is feeding. By sitting back and observing the behavior of your tank inhabitants, it allows us to collect some data and beat any sort of issues to the punch. Because after all, your fish can't tell you that they're hurting or that they're sick. So it's up to us to practice good husbandry and be really observant so that we can beat diseases and catch any sort of issues in our tanks and deal with them in a timely manner. Tip number 2, check equipment daily. Whether you're running a low-tech aquarium or a high-tech aquarium, it's inevitable that you're going to have some equipment that are the life support of your aquarium. And it's vital that this equipment is operating in prime condition at all times. This is why it's really important to give your aquarium a once-over every single day and make sure that everything is running adequately. You always want to make sure that your heater, if there is one in the aquarium, isn't malfunctioning. It's not uncommon for a heater to go haywire and heat the tank to an unsafe level. So this is where having something like a thermometer in your aquarium to monitor the temperature constantly is going to be really important. Additionally, if you're running CO2 in your aquarium, if there's plants, you might want to have a drop checker in there to make sure that CO2 levels are at a safe level. And finally, make sure that your filter isn't clogged. Depending on how many inhabitants you have in the tank and the size of it, it's very possible for your filter to get clogged up with waste and detritus. And you really want to make sure that through regular maintenance, your filter is running optimally, because this is going to be the life force of your tank. So by taking a little bit of time every day during your observations to make sure that equipment is running optimally, you'll be able to protect the health of your fish tank and its inhabitants. Tip number 3, adopt a safe feeding schedule. One of the biggest mistakes that new aquarists make when they're keeping an aquarium with fish is that they overfeed those fish. It is really tempting to feed your fish multiple times a day so you can watch them and interact with them, but this is a massive mistake because it often leads to uneaten food that will sink down to the bottom of the tank, rot, and produce an ammonia spike. And ammonia is your worst enemy in an aquarium. So establish a regular feeding routine that feeds very moderately and just enough where every one of your inhabitants is getting something to eat, and you never want any excess food that is going uneaten. One way to combat any sort of uneaten food that floats to the bottom is to have a cleanup crew. Shrimp and snails are great for ingesting any sort of excess food, but really you want to try your best not to overfeed in the first place. And if you're looking for a great food source for your inhabitants, we recommend going with Legit Fish Food. It's a fantastic line of products made of natural materials that are high quality and your fish will go crazy for. Tip number 4, quarantine new inhabitants. So you just got back from the fish store, you bought brand new inhabitants for your fish tank, and you're excited to add them to your community tank. But you have to be very careful when doing this. It is not uncommon for new tank inhabitants to bring in diseases and for those fish to be sick. So it's not a bad idea, if you have the space in your home, to quarantine new inhabitants before adding them to your community tank. If you have a spare 10-gallon aquarium lying around, make sure that it's filtered with mature filter media and go ahead and add those new inhabitants to that tank for a few weeks and just observe and make sure that they don't have any diseases or parasites. We recommend the Canvy sponge filter for this because it provides lots of oxygen, lots of surface area for beneficial bacteria, and you can keep mature filter media in it. So it's great for a quarantine aquarium. And then if all is great, you can add those fish to your community tank and enjoy them. But this ensures that you do it in a safe way and you protect your existing inhabitants in your community tank. Tip number 5, test your water. Testing your water parameters is extremely important, especially if you're a beginner aquarist. So if you've kept many fish tanks throughout your life, eventually you sort of get an eye and a feeling for the timing of things. But if you're new to the aquarium hobby, you might not be super familiar with the cycling process. And we highly recommend you check out our video on how to cycle a new aquarium. That'll be linked down below in the description. But throughout this cycling process, it's really important that you measure the ammonia, the nitrite, and the nitrate in your tank. Before you add any inhabitants, you want to make sure that your ammonia and your nitrite are at 0 parts per million. It's okay to have some nitrates, but you don't want overly high levels. And by testing these things, you ensure that your aquarium is inhabitant safe. Also, if you're using tap water, you want to know what's in your tap water. What kind of fish can you keep in it? What kind of plants can you keep in it? This is where it's important to know how to measure TDS and GH and KH. And luckily for you, we have an entire video covering the basics of these parameters and what they mean in the grand scheme of your aquarium. But when you're just starting out, and even a few years after, it's not a bad idea to measure these parameters regularly so that you know exactly what's in your water. Because at the end of the day, if you know your water is safe, you're going to be setting up the best environment for your tank's inhabitants. So that's all the time we have for today's video, but we'd love to hear from you. Let us know down below in the comments what your favorite fish, shrimp, or snail to keep in this hobby is. And also feel free to check out the Buce Plant website. We've got a lot of great tank inhabitants, from snails and shrimp to different kinds of nanofish, that'll really beautify your aquarium and make it feel like a diverse ecosystem. So thank you so much for watching. If you like this type of content, be sure to like the video and subscribe to the channel. Now get out there and create something beautiful.